Right now, 10 animals are holding entire ecosystems together by sheer force of existence. They regulate prey populations, reshape landscapes, and keep food chains from collapsing in on themselves. Most people walk past their pictures in a zoo and move on. But here's the thing. If these 10 predators vanish, the damage doesn't stay in the wild. It reaches your water supply, your food system, and the air you breathe. Today, we're counting down all 10. By the end, you'll never look at a predator the same way again. Before we get into the list, you need to understand one concept because it changes everything: the trophic cascade. In the 1990s, wolves were reintroduced into Yellowstone National Park after a 70-year absence. Scientists expected the elk population to drop. What they didn't expect was what happened next. Elk, now being hunted, started avoiding open riverbanks, where they were easy target. That behavioral change allowed willows and aspens to grow back along the rivers. The trees stabilized the banks stopped eroding. The rivers literally changed course. Bears, beavers, songbirds, and fish all returned because of wolves. Wolves didn't just kill elk, they changed the rivers. That's a trophic cascade. A keystone species is any animal whose removal triggers that kind of chain reaction: disproportionate, far-reaching, and often irreversible. Every predator on this list is one. Now imagine that effect multiplied across 10 species, across every major ecosystem on the planet. That's what's at stake. Number 10, the African wild dog. The African wild dog is one of the most efficient predators on Earth, with a hunt success rate of around 80%. For context, lions succeed roughly 25% of the time. These animals don't just overpower prey, they outthink it, running in coordinated relay teams across the savannah. Their role in the ecosystem is critical. By culling weak and sick animals from antelope and gazelle herds, they keep those populations genetically strong and geographically mobile. Without that pressure, herds overgraze specific areas, stripping vegetation down to bare soil. Fewer than 6,600 African wild dogs remain in the wild, fragmented across sub-Saharan Africa. Habitat loss, human-wildlife conflict, and disease, particularly canine distemper, are driving them toward regional extinction faster than most people realize. Number 9, the snow leopard. High in the Himalayas and Central Asian mountain ranges, the snow leopard rules an ecosystem most humans will never see. Its primary prey, blue sheep and Himalayan ibex, are prolific grazers. Without a predator keeping their numbers in check, those animals strip alpine meadows bare. Bare alpine meadows mean accelerated soil erosion. Erosion in the Himalayas doesn't stay in the mountains. It affects the river systems that hundreds of millions of people downstream depend on for fresh water. Current estimates place the global snow leopard population between 4,000 and 6,500. They are listed as vulnerable by the IUCN, with poaching and shrinking prey habitat as the primary threats. Number 8, the dhole, also known as the Asian wild dog. You've probably never heard of the dhole, and that's part of the problem. This pack-hunting canid ranges across South and Southeast Asia, from India through the forests of Thailand and Indonesia. Like the African wild dog, dholes hunt cooperative, taking down deer and wild boar far larger than themselves. In forest ecosystem, deer are among the most destructive overbrowsers when left unchecked. Dholes are the primary biological control on those populations across much of Asia. Remove them, and the forests they regulate follow. The dhole is listed as endangered. Fewer than 2,500 are estimated to remain in the wild, largely due to prey depletion and direct persecution by humans who see them as livestock threats. Number 7, the Amur leopard. This is where the numbers get genuinely alarming. The Amur leopard is the rarest wild cat on Earth. As of the most recent survey, fewer than 100 individuals survive in the wild, confined to a small region of the Russian Far East and northeastern China. The Amur leopard is the apex predator of the temperate Ussuri forest, a biome of extraordinary biodiversity. Its prey includes roe deer and sika deer. Without it, those deer populations would expand unchecked, overgrazing the forest understory and disrupting everything from insect communities to the small mammals that birds of prey depend on. Fewer than 100 animals. That's not a population, that's a roster. Number 6, the jaguar. The jaguar is the Amazon's chief operating officer. It sits at the top of one of the most complex food webs on Earth, regulating everything from capybara and peccary to caiman and river turtle. It doesn't just control numbers, it controls behavior. Prey animals move differently, graze differently, and live differently when a jaguar might be watching. That behavioral pressure distributes grazing across wider areas, preventing any single patch of the Amazon from being eaten into oblivion. Jaguars also suppress mid-level predator, keeping the entire system balanced from the top down. The jaguar is listed as near threatened, with an estimated 64,000 to 173,000 remaining. But habitat fragmentation is severing the connected territories they need to survive long term. Number 5. The polar bear. Halfway through our list, let's pause on a number. 26,000. That's the rough global polar bear population, the largest of any species on this countdown. Yet they still make it here, because the Arctic marine food web they regulate is under a threat no other ecosystem faces at quite the same speed: climate-driven habitat collapse. Polar bears primarily hunt ringed seals. Ringed seals primarily eat Arctic cod. Arctic cod regulate zooplankton. Zooplankton regulate phytoplankton. Phytoplankton produce roughly 10% of global oxygen and sequester enormous amounts of carbon. Pull the polar bear from the top of that chain, and seal populations explode, crashing cod stocks and destabilizing the entire Arctic marine system. Also worth noting, the polar bear's decline is the canary in the coal mine for every other ecosystem on this list. What kills the Arctic first will come for the rest. Number 4. The Sumatran tiger. Fewer than 400 Sumatran tigers remain. They exist only on the island of Sumatra, a critically fragmented landscape of palm oil plantation and shrinking rainforest. As the island's only apex predator, the Sumatran tiger controls sambar deer and wild pig populations that, left unchecked, would devastate the forest undergrowth. That undergrowth isn't decorative. It shelters seedlings, regulates soil moisture, and provides habitat for hundreds of species that never make a headline. The Sumatran tiger is the lid on a pressure cooker. Remove it, and the forest degrades from the ground up. The species is listed as critically endangered, and the primary driver is one of the least complicated conservation problems in existence: deforestation for palm oil and illegal poaching. Complicated to solve politically, simple to understand. Number 3. The great white shark. The ocean covers 71% of Earth's surface. The great white shark patrols a significant portion of it. Though classified as vulnerable, not endangered, the great white earns its place near the top of this list because of the sheer scale of what it regulates. Great whites are mesopredator suppressors. By hunting and behaviorally suppressing mid-level predators like rays and smaller sharks, they prevent those animals from decimating shellfish and fish populations in coastal ecosystems. The collapse of shark population off the eastern United States led to a ray population explosion that wiped out century-old scallop fisheries in less than a decade. That actually happened. The ocean is not a passive backdrop. It's a living system, and the great white shark is one of its most important regulators. Number 2. The Ethiopian wolf. The Ethiopian wolf is the world's rarest conid. Approximately 500 remain, confined entirely to the Afro-Alpine highlands of Ethiopia, one of the most isolated and ecologically unique habitats on the planet. They hunt alone, targeting Afro-Alpine rodents, giant mole rats, grass rats, and similar species. That may sound modest. It is not. Those rodents reproduce rapidly and graze extensively on high-altitude grasses. Without the Ethiopian wolf suppressing them, the rodent population would explode, the grasses would collapse, and the soil of an already fragile alpine ecosystem would erode into the valleys below. Rabies and canine distemper, spread by domestic dogs from nearby villages, are currently the single greatest threat to the species. The Ethiopian wolf is one bad disease outbreak away from a catastrophic population crash. Number 1. The Amur tiger, also known as the Siberian tiger. The Amur tiger takes the top spot not just because of its rarity, but because of the sheer breadth of what disappears with it. Fewer than 600 remain in the wild, almost entirely in Russia's Ussuri taiga, one of the most biodiverse temperate forests on the planet. The Amur tiger regulates populations of elk, boar, and deer across a vast territory. Each individual tiger controls hundreds of square kilometers of ecosystem. Its presence shapes animal behavior across the entire landscape, where prey grazes, how forests regenerate, which smaller predators thrive, and which are kept in check. Conservation efforts have actually shown real results here. The population has recovered from roughly 40 animals in the 1940s to around 500 today. That recovery is proof that targeted, sustained effort works. It is also proof of how close to zero we are willing to let things get before we act. Let's be direct about what the science actually shows. When apex predators are removed, prey populations expand rapidly. Expanded prey populations overgraze vegetation. Overgrazing strips ground cover, exposing soil. Exposed soil erodes. Erosion disrupts watershed and degrades water quality. Degraded water quality affects agriculture. And when large predators collapse, rodent and mid-level predator populations explode. and rodents are among the most prolific vectors of zoonotic disease. The Lyme disease crisis in the northeastern United States is partly linked to the decline of predators that once suppressed deer and rodent population. This isn't hypothetical. Trophic cascade studies published in peer-reviewed journals have documented these effects across multiple continents. The loss of large predators doesn't stay in the wilderness. It moves downstream into rivers. It moves into fields, into food supply chain. It moves into hospitals. Human civilization is not separate from these ecosystems. We are embedded in them. And right now, the load-bearing walls are cracking. Here's what doesn't get enough attention. Conservation works when we commit to it. The Amur tiger recovery, from roughly 40 animals to nearly 600, happened because Russia enacted serious anti-poaching laws and protected critical habitat corridors. The African wild dog has seen localized population recoveries in Zimbabwe and South Africa through targeted breeding and reintroduction programs. Jaguar corridor projects led by the organization Panthera are actively reconnecting fragmented habitats across Central and South America. Organizations like the WWF, Panthera, the African Wildlife Foundation, and the IUCN are doing genuinely rigorous, science-led work. Anti-poaching enforcement, community-based conservation, and habitat protection legislation have measurable results. What still needs to happen? International policy that treats biodiversity loss with the same urgency as climate change, because they are the same crisis wearing different faces. Good news, humans caused most of this, which means we're also the only ones capable of reversing it. No pressure. Predators are not extras in the story of life on Earth. They are the architects. Remove them, and the structure doesn't hold. These 10 animals in forests, oceans, Arctic ice, and alpine highlands are doing work that nothing else can replace. The question isn't whether we can afford to save them. The question is whether we understand what we lose if we don't. If you want to keep understanding how the natural world actually works and why it matters for all of us, subscribe. There's a lot more where this came from.